AI is a lot closer sometimes than you would think, and also a lot simpler than you would think. You know,
Mm.
there's the AI, and the ultimate, I think, of AI is the humanoid, the human robots. I think that to us is that like if you think AI, you think about that, like human people doing things. And for us, AI is really about analytics, programs, analyzing. We found AI interesting to actually default, networks, finding maybe latent issues or maybe underlying network weaknesses. So we're looking at that. And also still exploring. AI, we did some started up. We used that Chinese version, but it's not all that easy. The processing power is hectic. There's a lot of that, and you have to really develop the capability. So we're bringing AI in. I would say step by step. We're not necessarily in a rush. We don't really see AI yet as the big.
Welcome to Value Seller Talks with Deepak Bajaj, where we bring the conversations with visionary leaders who are shaping industries and driving innovation. Today, we are honored to host Dr. Dawie, Group Chairman and the CEO of QCon, leading satellite engineering enterprises for Southern Africa with its flagship satellite broadband service called 2B for more than 3.5 decades. It's a very, very long time. So he is known for his vision, innovation, and disruption through technology. He is currently on a mission to connect the unconnected across Africa. Since founding QCon in 1988, Dr. Dawie has played a pivotal role in transforming connectivity and bridging the digital divide within Africa, and the satellite broadband solutions are playing an important role into that. So today, we will explore his journey, the evolution of satellite technology, and how QCon is shaping the future of connectivity in Africa and beyond. So without further delay, let's welcome Dr. Dawie to Value Solar Talks. Dr. Dawie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Deepak. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for actually bringing another perspective to the industry and to your followers. I do think your effort would be well appreciated, and well done for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. But this is your show. And we are now very much excited about that what is going in the industry and how you see the industry. So, but before we move into that part, we would like to know you as a person first.
Well, grown up in South Africa, born in South Africa, grew up on a farm, so really a non-technical start, and journeyed from there. I think just taking up the challenges one by one. Didn't really, I think, had a grand vision as such. I think it is a philosophy of doing the best you can every day and doing step by step. So from that perspective, I think a really standard or let's say average sort of journey. Possibly there's thousands others in the country or in different countries or in Africa. So yeah, that's a little bit a brief snippet for me. So South African born, grew up in this Pretoria area, and we probably still here today. Yeah.
Oh, it's not an average journey of yours, right? Uh, we can see your journey move from a system engineer to leading a satellite solution company. And this is an incredible journey. And believe me, a lot of people get inspired from that. So we would like to know how this transition happened.
I think it's the key message would be step by step, initially from an opportunity. So I was invited into the QCon board for a project, and started there and started the journey to create solutions, mostly around radio frequency RF. We had some military projects. So we grew up in the radio frequency world, did a lot of wireless. And I think QCon's journey is mostly about using technology to solve solutions for Africa. We see ourselves as a system engineering company. So system engineering is really focused on the engineering of systems, putting solutions together. So that's not per se developing technology, more rather putting technology to work. So from that perspective, it's the journey of QCon. Started on the wireless side, we did some interesting projects for underground. So throughout, basically taking technology, mostly from our perspective, global technologies. So it's either technologies from the USA, from Europe, from the Middle East, from the, let's say, the more R&D sort of equipped countries, and actually apply that technology in the Africa environment. So from that perspective, yeah, it was a journey that we take opportunities. I think Africa is a wonderful environment for opportunities. There's a lot of opportunity that's there, partly necessitated. There's also a lot of problems. So of course, problems, opportunities, they go a little bit hand in hand. It depends which way you look at it. And I think it's generally for this environment, it's an opportunity to actually grow and excel and develop. More so, I think, yes, the developing environments has different opportunities. They have different scopes. They might have opportunities to really have a bit more of a technology. For us, it's on the solution side.
But that step, today most of the professionals are eager to start something of their own, but they are not able to take that first step. So what advice would you like to give it to them?
I think it's maybe the advice for the first step. But then again, the first step is not that important. I think it's the steps and the carry on. So I think it's more the perseverance. And if I want to really put advice in a short impact, I would say, switch off Facebook and focus on your own plans. So I think it's a little bit all these impressions and everybody, you see that one has done that and that maybe is a quick get rich quickly scheme, and there's so many social media, there's so many awareness about success and actually I think portrayed a little bit wrong because it comes across as easy and quick. And anyway, for our journey, it was anything but easy and quick. And I think if you really focus on long-term success, it's very seldom easy and quick. And unfortunately, a lot of that image gets misunderstood. And young entrepreneurs, young people wants to actually get that, gets rich quickly scheme, and they see the massive success that's done. And I think it's a little bit misleading then. I think it creates the wrong expectation. It sets them up a little bit almost for a very hard path because they might have good successes, but they might be a bit small and they would compare their success against what's their image or what's their understanding, and they might be disappointed. And you should not be. You should satisfy it. You should be happy for what you achieve. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's success is spelled different. So I think if you really want to go forward, whether it's a big dream, if you're fortunate to have a big vision, which I don't think is that often. So if you want to be something for yourself and you maybe don't have that vision, it's fine. Just start with what you can, where you can, how you can. I think that is for me the key messaging. Step by step, one day at a time, it will come.
I love your statement, switch off Facebook, because go to action, do something, but start executing. And believe me, these quick schemes and quick money, which is talking, it's everywhere. And the youngsters are getting a lot of challenges because they get trapped into that in very easy manner. And I think with the AI solution which we are all are talking about nowadays, that has actually make them believe that everyone can become a millionaire in just in few clicks.
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's very misleading, and sometimes it doesn't look like work, and believe me, I think there's a lot of work behind it, but they, I think by design, don't portray the work. They portray the results and the easy life and the successes, and yeah, it's not like that. Yeah, it's really a lot of more hard work and diligent and continuous work.
Yeah. Uh, it leads to a very important question, but I think it's a basic question also. What is the definition of success in your language, in your terms?
Yes, I think for us, success is more about controlling our destiny. You know, we live in a world where there's so many changes and so many disruptions that success for us would be just actually be in a position to develop a sustainable future. You know, being able there to actually make the decisions and be able to make the plan as best as we can. Success is definitely not materialism. That's not quite success. The opportunity to contribute, Africa does sometimes create that opportunity for us and for me, and it's wonderful to contribute and to actually share and be in a position. But mostly for us, success is being actually the basic stuff, you know, the simple stuff. To just to consistently be there. We've come a long way. The brand is quite strong. And to have a brand that is strong, you know, for have something that can be 30 years or a long time, you know, that by itself is maybe not the billionaire success. I don't think we strive for that money. If we really wanted to drive that, I think our journey would have been different.
Mm.
But our journey is more of a journey of a sustainable future, of a consistent, sustainable future, which for us spells a step-by-step approach. So that's really how we see it.
Very, very thoughtful message. And everyone has their view, but we, as you mentioned, sustainable future. It means you are that shows the attitude of giving back. And when you're giving back, you become a get a desire of the fulfillment. And I'm pretty much sure your definition is actually related with the fulfillment and giving back to the society. And money comes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, we need money, and money makes, you know, we have a saying that money makes the world turn, but it's turning around people, you know, so it's that balance.
Yeah, no, no, I thanks for bringing it up. But 35 years back, you know, when you started and then there's a transition happened, you also faced a lot of challenges. So any challenge which is still a nightmare for you or which you still think that could be done differently to avoid that particular tough situation?
I think one always wants to be a bit different. I think you innate wired to try to do better and better and better. I think it's just part of our evolution. We set up a little bit like that. So looking back, there's things that you would like to do better, sometimes a bit more aggressive. Um, you know, one of the things maybe it's a blessing that you would never know what could have been if you done it differently. You know,
Mm,
the current outcome is we are blessed not to know, well, if I made that decision 10 years back, today I would have been at a different, like, you know, so fortunately we don't have to have that comparison in life. So we're pretty pleased where we are now. I think we're blessed that we've moved into Africa, which was the early 90s. So the early 90s, we very specifically made a decision to go into the African market, specifically satellite. So that was a good journey. That we started that at good. We worked throughout the whole all of Africa. So in that perspective, I think that was some good decisions. In terms of Nigeria, at some stage we moved out of Nigeria, which perhaps was a bit too quick. We felt we had to actually come back into. So there are things that we'd like to move differently. But mostly the market has been receptive for us. So generally quite good. Um,
mm, I understand. And these all are the phases of a life which has to be.
Sorry?
These all are the phases of a life and the business cycle. This is how it works.
Yeah, I think Deepak, if you're so long at it like us, it's not a project anymore. You know,
Mm,
it's really not a project. It's not quite a job or career. It's like a lifestyle. Um, you know, specifically, we keep our people quite long. You know, for us to be in QCon for 10 years is really not long. You know, if you want to be one of the old people around here, you need to be 15, 20 years. And yeah, that's really the core. So we have a strong core of long-term partners.
no, no. And that's very important that you have to be sustainable. You have to bring the people believe in you, and that's come when you have this. The people can see you, right? And they consider you as a serious player.
Yeah, now it's a bit easier now. Like we have more of a corporate culture and a momentum and a profile, so it's a bit easier. Right in the beginning, it was difficult to maintain momentum. You know, if the wheel is small, the smallest thing can get it off path, and you really got to focus. Today we have more inertia momentum, but we keep up innovating. The satellite industry is immensely challenging at the moment, both in terms of technology as well as in industry. So we're sitting at we feel it as a beginning of a complete new phase, where people would normally talk to me about maybe, what is this towards the end chapter of the life of the business? Definitely not. So we might be like 35 years old baby at the moment. So that's a little bit more how we see it, because we're really at the beginning of a massive industry growth.
Right. I love the statement, 35-year-old baby.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit where we are.
Yeah, but the good part of baby is it's always learning, and that's what is required at this moment. That learning a lot of things.
And I think there's so much to learn, which is a blessing, and where we can learn, which is nice. So people like yourself with the podcast and the podcast, I mean, if you look around, there's so much opportunity, which is what I missed a little bit in the beginning. And, they say that, if you, the top 5 people you spend time with will influence you in a big way. So I think we have the opportunity to look for those audience. You can follow guys with different perspectives. We can learn what's happening in India. I can learn what's happening in Brazil. So that capability and availability of learning, but you have to want to learn. There's always a difference between wanting to know and wanting to learn. Those are not the same things. Lots of people want to know things, but the willingness to learn, it's not so natural. That takes some discipline.
Agree, agree. And it's a very important message because with this YouTube and other thing which is available, everyone wants to become master of
Mm.
what you say, the jack of all, master of none. And that's where, that's the biggest mistake.
There definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to know about the QCon. What is the purpose behind it, and how and what is the meaning of this QCon also?
Um, Cucumber say have no real meaning. We've adopted it. So it comes from 2 company names. It comes from Q Data, which is the Q, and it comes from MachCon, which was the KON. So these 2 companies formed Q Data, QCon, and that was really back in 86. And then in 88, basically, we started and took it from there. So in a way, we've adopted it as a name. And the purpose for us is really to sustainable solutions in the satellite space. So we are a telecom service provider. So we always say, well, if we can't be the biggest. I mean, today in the industry that's dominated by the mobile operators, if you just can't be the biggest. So then we say we got to be the smartest. So we got to be smart to survive. We got to be clever around it. You've got to keep on innovating, keep on creating. So the purpose of QCon is to address the solutions in Africa that's a little bit not addressed by the mass telcos. So the mass telcos has a certain success recipe, and it works very well, and it addresses a certain sector of the market. But there are requirements that are not addressed by them, and that's where we focus. We focus on bringing that in. For a long time, satellite technology was the leftover technology.
Hmm.
I always say that satellite it was too small for the big guys, meaning the big telcos didn't really value the satellite technology, the business guys, and it was too big for the small guys because satellite needs a specific investment, it needs a specific culture, capability, and we've started to focus on that. Initially, we did wireless, microwave, and over time we focused more on it. It matched what we wanted to do. So we found a good match between what QCon wanted to do and what satellite offered and the gaps in the technology, so in the industry. So we could move quite good there. We actually, and right now, we purpose to lead that environment as a satellite service provider, bring that into the market and match that requirements to the solution. That's really where we sit.
Hmm. And now the market has changed, right? Earlier, which was not considered, it has become a baseline, and I'm pretty much sure the names like OneWeb and the Starlink, and there's so many things which is coming in over there has the brightest future for the satellite industry as a whole.
Yes, very much so. And we're also going to see the different business models. Starlink is more of a direct to market offer. OneWeb is a partnership model. And they're only the two very first ones. We're expecting a lot of constellations. There's a European one, there's a Chinese one. So which is really what we see the industry is going to change a lot. So it might be that it will no longer be a technology for a specialist niche provider. It might be that the satellite industry will become mainstream and will actually develop. And to some extent, we look at the scenario where the satellite industry will create its own providers, like mobile technology. Mobile technology actually created the mobile network operators. It wasn't really adopted by the fixed line operators. It actually creates, from the technology, it created the investments, and from that, the whole industry and the operators. And it might be that satellite will take the same journey. It might be that the satellite technology is so different from the current telcos. Fixed line won't really look at it. Mobile won't really look at it. So maybe it creates its own industry. Maybe it will find its own investments, own technology, own environment, because it has completely different dynamics versus any of the other major telco environments. So that's particularly something we are mindful of, and what we are positioning to be able to service or be part of it or leverage or see what opportunities we can unlock.
Hmm. And if I talk about specific to Africa, we know that there are a lot of development happening, and now the mobile towers are reaching to multiple rural areas, driving the digital divide. But still there is and there are so many satellite common providers also there. So is there still a lot of area or lot of areas for the improvement which has been left out, or the areas are still unconnected as we speak today?
Yes, it is actually. A couple of angles to that, not just looking at rural. So one of the differentiations we want to bring is that we say that satellites connect the off-grid locations. So off-grid normally is referred to as an electricity grid, but you can also refer to as a telecom grid. So we refer to as off-grid. And in that case, there's a lot of opportunities. More so, not necessarily where cellular is not. If you really look at the technology landscape, fiber, of course, is a primary fixed point application. So primary is for fixed locations. And mobile was really developed for mobile services. Then mobile actually started with 5G and fixed wireless and point-to-point, and which is basically adding on to the mobile network, and they're doing very well in exposing it. Fundamentally, it's still a mobile network. So if you then say, well, there's actually no alternative fixed line service, it is only fiber. So then you say, okay, satellite can become an alternative, because we used to have ADSL. In South Africa, they discontinued ADSL, so there's no ADSL service anymore. So there's actually, if you just look at the South African market, there's even today 2 million ADSL subscribers that's not reconnected. The fixed line service was discontinued. They now left to connect with mobile or LTE or fixed LTE, which is okay, but really it is a solution that gets adapted a bit for the market. It's not a solution that was designed for that market. So satellite, the large-scale satellite technology is coming, will actually be only the second. So we're going to see a lot of fiber plus satellite combinations. So will be a lot of rollout of the satellite in the metros as a redundancy backup. We're going to see a lot of satellite as an alternative for fixed LTE, and we're going to see satellite in the more classical locations, in the more rural, unserviced, that type of area as well. And it's still not going to be enough. Huh? We followed the media. We do know that Starlink is fairly readily sold out in some of the major capitals because it's just going to contribute to the demand. Unfortunately, the demand is so unsaturated and almost so massive. It's almost for me like a black energy hole. We can keep on providing, but the demand is just exceptional. So it's going to contribute, but it's definitely not going to really meet the demand. But in that case, Start will fill a different role. I do say there's always a ranking, fiber and then fixed microwave and then satellite. So yes, that pecking order will stay a little bit, but where we used to have satellite as a really exceptional special applications, it's going to be a lot more come mainstream as a fixed alternative for fiber, as a fixed backup to fiber, as well as a not covered area as well.
So the what I can get out of it, there are multiple use cases, and there are convergence which will happen with both the terrestrial network as well as the satellite, and obviously we have to complement and find out the right fit which can help the customer who is at the last mile.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Right. I love this thing of different business models, because now with the LEO satellites coming into, which is more closer to the Earth, so that will create a lot of bandwidth, that can serve the devices which are more bandwidth hungry.
Yes, the LEO technology will change the landscape completely. It's all the latency and the bandwidth and the speed, and also the models. You now really have global. They are actually global networks, and they actually use the same as the mobile network operators. So if you really look at the core technology, in a very simplistic way, they took the base stations and they put them in orbit. So really, you have the globe now being sort of circled by base stations. Um, and that dynamic is going to play. It's, large scale deployments, a lot of users. Starlink has got 4.6 million users, which is a lot. But if you, it's not quite the mobile operators. I mean, the mobile network operators is a lot more. So in that sense, it's still a specialist technology, but the scale is a lot more. The scale has increased significantly.
And Africa need all such innovation to become a developed continent.
Definitely. I think it's both the opportunity as well as the demand, and also an opportunity to spring. I mean, and to leapfrog the environments, to actually create that platform and enable the whole digital society and capabilities.
Hmm. Hmm. In your webinars, in your speeches, you always talk about to be, right? I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So what is to be all about?
So Tubi is a brand name. When we started QCon, we wanted to develop and get better on marketing and marketing. I always say, as an engineer, you tend to focus on the engineering side, and actually you should not. You should really focus on the marketing side. So when we had, I think it was our second or third constellation, we wanted to really focus on marketing, and we had some brainstorm and some people helping us. And we came up with Tubi. So Tubi is basically a product name which we can use to promote the service. Because of our background, it was not so simple to say, well, that is a QCon service, because QCon does very different things. We are consultants, we're project engineers. So it's, QCon is not a product. QCon is a company that does different things. And one of the different things is a product. And we wanted to actually get better at marketing that specific product. And then we started with the brand Tubi. And it worked very well for us. So we created the brand Tubi, which is the product brand for our satellite portfolio. It became quite strong in a way. We didn't quite expect it. The brand would take so strong, even to some stage that the brand got a bit stronger than QCon in a way. But that's okay for us. We have a model to support partners. So you had a lot of Tubi resellers and Tubi distributors. And in that sense, the brand sort of run into the market. So that's really what Tubi is. Today, we are on the third generation platform of Tubi. So that is quite nice to give us an opportunity to let technology live on. People will buy a 2B service, but today's 2B service is not the one we sold in 2010. But the brand is still there, the assurance is still there. It's a little bit like you buy a Dell computer or an IBM computer. You sort of get that brand familiarity. So that's what we did with 2B, and we plan to live on with that.
Obviously, the ROM is not built in the overnight, so you have to, keep consistent. You have to nurture that baby, and
Yeah.
now and that become visible also. I love that idea of that visibility, and that's where the marketing comes into.
Thank you. Yeah, it's we're getting better now with the marketing. Thank you for like reaching out to us. 5 years or 10 years ago, it just wouldn't be. We were like stuck in the corner. It's for a long time. We were still, the typical engineer stuck in the corner doing the things, not talking to nobody. There was a time in our lives that we can relate to that. But we sort of got better into communicating, and the brand helped a bit.
And this is very important message for the entrepreneurs and the people who are actually coming from a tech background, and they are really, really loving to do and create a lot of codes, automation, in their on their laptop. But when it comes to who is watching them, no one is aware that they exist. So thanks for bringing that message, because most of the startups actually are not able to scale up because people are not aware about it.
Yes, and it's this balance. You've got to solve a real problem. Yes, there must be a problem that you can solve, and then there will be a market, but then it is about exposure, marketing, and all of that drive. Yeah, it is. It's quite critical.
Right. I believe I'm pretty much sure this is a very lengthy topic. It will take another 1 hour, so I don't want to put more here. But yes, I will definitely go and talk with you on this particular thing, because it is going to give a right direction to the people who are still lost in their entrepreneurship journey.
Thank you, Deepak. Yes, okay.
Uh, I mean, during these technical discussions, right? Not technical, but all of our discussion are revolving around creating an impact with the help of technology. Now, in this time, if we are not talking about AI, this whole discussion will be incomplete. So I would be interested into how you are integrating AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, all XYZ, buzzwords, making up reality in integrating with your systems.
Deepak, we are finding the practicality. We're working a little bit between the hype and the reality. And AI is a lot closer sometimes than you would think, and also a lot simpler than you would think. There's the AI, and the ultimate, I think, of AI is the humanoid, the human robots. I think that to us is that like if you think AI, you think about that, like human people doing things. And for us, AI is really about analytics, programs, analyzing. We found AI interesting to actually default, networks, finding maybe latent issues or maybe underlying network weaknesses. So we're looking at that. And also still exploring. I mean, AI, we did some started up. We used that Chinese version, but it's not all that easy. The processing power is hectic. There's a lot of that, and you have to really develop the capability. So we're bringing AI in. I would say step by step. We're not necessarily in a rush. We don't really see AI yet as the big differentiator or threat. At this point in time, we see it just as a tool. And we will grow the company and the people to actually get better and better with it too.
And you rightly mentioned it's a step-by-step journey. There's no rush, because every day the AI models are also getting more and more smarter. And
Yeah.
yes, but to you, I always tell about this is an unleashed animal. So to take the maximum best out of it, that model has to understand us, and it's a time-consuming process.
And the technology we work is, I mean, it's satellite technology. So it's a fairly sophisticated network. It's not like we develop a product and if something goes wrong, we can quickly change. I mean, we're working on a global constellation. So we got to be a little bit more careful and a little bit more prudent in terms of exploring and testing so our environment is not that friendly for R&Ds. for that type of environment, which makes us, more cautious in terms of introducing new technologies.
Right, rightly said. Yeah, it's a very niche area which you are
Yeah,
working, and definitely it has to be proven, tested multiple times before it gets implemented.
definitely, yes.
Uh, in the interest of time, I would like to understand the future of the satellite and how you see this converging in next, 2 to 3 years time frame.
I think it's a bit more clear now. We have now see the constellations, so we are a little bit through the initial uncertainty stage. So the next 3 to 5 years will definitely be the deployment of the technologies. You've mentioned Starlink, OneWeb. We'll see the European constellation in the Chinese constellation. So it will basically be the ground foundations of that industry. Um, so I can tell you a little bit what will happen, not quite how it will happen. So we know the satellite industry, specifically in Africa, will form and structure will be different between regulatory. So regulatory is a big thing in Africa, and in basically in all markets, but more so in African markets. So the regulatory landscape mixed with the approach, Starlink's direct to market model, OneWeb's partner model. We're not quite sure what the other ones want. So, and then the actual technology. So it's going to be an interesting outcome, because the outcome will not just be a technology outcome. It's a technology, business model, regulatory. That mix will determine the outcome. And that's we're going to see. And I think we will see like an initial burst and then some maturity. It's just natural that the market then maybe will roll back a step or two and then grow. But that the technology is now proven and will a role to play, I think we can tick that box and say, yes, LEO technology is going to be a reality, and they're going to be part of the industry going forward. So that we have there. So then it's a matter of how we're going to match and service the market, what will help with the product, and what's the complexity and all the challenges around that, and how will this landscape develop, because always looking back to maybe mobile networks because of the scale and development. I mean, the GSM standard, the fact that it was open standard and the interoperability and all of that did a lot of good for the industry. We haven't seen that yet in the satellite industry. At the moment, the satellite environment is very specialized, very close, and very proprietary, which is quite the opposite and quite not normal, I would say, in today's. We used an open AI and open access and open code. So generally, you would expect a little more interoperability. At the moment, there's none. So that would be one concern, I think, that maybe might mean that the industry have a good run and might have to reset or adjust, or we'll see that some standards will actually grow and others not. So that's one aspect I think that we're watching closely. But yes, so the next 3 years, very definitely a growth area in that growth with the uncertainties around that. So it's going to be a wave. We're just not quite sure what type.
No, no, you rightly mentioned about the complexities, proprietaries, but yes, the one thing is the adaptability has actually coming up. So people are now getting, and the regulators are thinking how to merge these two technologies to get to reach to the last mile. He's maybe at the remote location or at the remote village.
Definitely, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Dawie, I like to understand, your message to the experienced professionals who are actually struggling in their day-to-day life and who are actually not able to bring the productivity out of them because of whatever the reasons are. So what message you would like to share to them?
For me, it's small steps. That's proved for us working well. So the method is actually we look at technologies, what work in other areas, and how we can adapt it. Even today, we are we are a partner for OneWeb, but the OneWeb constellation has certain constraints, and they eventually allow us to engage with them a little bit more on the raw material side, I would say. So we contract with OneWeb in a bulk way, and then we can productize for Africa. So we found a way to actually bring, we've adapted like a smart satellite service is the way we use it internally. And that's really, so we use the technology, it's proven, it has a momentum, and then adapt and bring value for the market. And that's really the recipe for us, not doing everything from day one, not trying to develop. Purely, I think it's our capabilities. It can definitely work for other people, but for us, what we found, the challenges in Africa, it's a bit easier if we have a running start. It's a bit easier if we have technology that in terms of the building blocks are actually working and proven, and we can actually do the adaptation and the configuration and match that with Africa. So just an interesting story. Long ago, we were the first company that took Wi-Fi underground. So Wi-Fi was a very proven technology. This was in the 90s, 93, 92, and about there. And of course, they wanted to use Wi-Fi underground. And a tunnel doesn't actually make waves propagate. So a tunnel, if you put waves in a tunnel, that actual tunnel geometrics will basically let the wave fade away. And we use Wi-Fi technology and satellite antennas because a satellite has a spiral type of beamform, and we combine that and could get Wi-Fi underground talent. So that's a nice example of how we can actually combine different technologies to match a specific market application. So that proved very well in that stage, and later developed, and later they brought in that technology. Now, if you talk underground communications, they actually include this adaptation or this modification.
A Wi-Fi with satellite. Yeah, it's a brilliant concept, right? Honestly,
Yeah,
everyone is thinking about LTE or 5G, or the 6Gs are talking about on the satellite, but yeah, Wi-Fi on satellite, and that itself in 1992, that time frame. So
yeah,
wow. So it's at that moment I can visualize that how the proud movement was, after making a connectivity inside a tunnel, uh, and then using the different parts to get the connectivity, and to give the required signal with the quality of service.
yeah.
So thanks for bringing it up. Mm. Uh,
Welcome.
so maybe I understand that there are lot many evolution is going on right now, in the technology space. So what are the biggest challenges which you think is ongoing, which a startup companies or the entrepreneurs should avoid?
I think you gotta the challenge is in the interface. So the
Mm,
challenge is to find the right match, the technology, and the market and the rollout. So I don't quite think a brilliant product by itself will service the market by, you got to actually be able to think a little bit on the other aspects. So I think the challenges will be maybe not within you. So if you like on the product side, you would need to collaborate or talk to somebody that's really on the market side, or really somebody on the business side. And it's that interaction that is really necessary to bring the full success, because business is actually a full circle. Business is not just a brilliant product or not just a good price. Business is basically the full circle. So you got to be able to have the product, the delivery, the market, and all of that. I think that would be the challenge. And we all have certain interests, and we
mm,
all have certain ambitions. So we all come to this sort of complex problem with a certain perspective. It's very seldom that we can look at all the aspects. So that would be the challenge, I think.
And thanks for bringing this up, because of this interest, business, product, market. So everything is interconnected. But yes, one has to study it very thoroughly, understand it, that what they start from, where they started and where they are going, is still the demand is still there or not.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So, Dr. Dawie, thank you for this insightful conversation. I know there's always a availability of your time. And we really thank you for taking out your time. And I really want to tell the audience about the webinar which QCon is organizing on 10th of April, and it's a free registration. So please enroll yourself into that. Understand that what is going in that space, and this will be going to be a game changer the way you guys work and you use technology. So the details will be, so Dr. Dawie, if you want to talk about it on a little bit on the on that webinar.
Thank you, Deepak. We had the webinar to really address the application of satellites. So we're talking on this, bringing the satellite technology to the market. So we want to engage with the market and you really make it a bit more clear, geo, and now we're going to map it into Africa. So we're bringing three perspectives in the discussion. So my perspective is really from the technology. Then we are joined by Vox. They actually have a perspective of servicing the market in a consumer business market, and Kajima is joining from a business perspective. So it's actually quite different insights, and it's going to be quite an interesting discussion to do exactly this. We want to look at the technology from all aspects. So we really want to come back to what I said earlier. This webinar is just one small example of how we do that. Even in our case now, I've asked them to come and join and really debate with us and debate with me the applications and what work and what doesn't work, and see how we can map this journey forward.
And who will be the right audience for this, if you can specify?
Both end users in Africa. So we're talking about industry. So it's enterprise, mining, industrial, corporate, not so consumers. At the moment, the technology is not aligned for consumers to that extent. So our focus is enterprise, financial institutions, and then, of course, channel partners that want to be part of the industry. They can be a channel partner in the form of a distribution or reselling or that type of thing. So it's an open discussion. It's not really a technology feature discussion. It's really saying, well, this is the technology, this is the market perspective, and learning together how we can go forward.
Wow, it sounds very exciting to me, because when you bring all the people, all the leaders from the different aspects, focus
Yes.
on one of the market like mining or financial or the enterprises, definitely it is going to be a lot of discussion on the businesses, on the reliability, and what maybe the ROIs and other things will definitely come into that discussion as well.
Definitely, Deepak, yes.
Kindly share the link with us so that I will also post it when we make this broadcast live, so that the more and more people will get the chance to enroll into that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right. So thank you, Dr. Dawie, for your all the thoughts. Wi-Fi over the satellite is something which I'm very fascinated about it, because that has given me a different way of thinking about. And thank you for bringing all the parameters which people may skip out, especially the quick schemes, coming out from the Facebook or the social media context and start working. It's a really, really powerful message. Any last message which you want to share with us?
Just appreciating your time and the opportunity to share with you and your audience.
Thank you so much. And uh, it's a very, very insightful discussion. Thank you so much once again. So to our audience, until next time, this is Deepak Bajaj signing off. Thank you.
Bye-bye.